What is up, people? What is up, people? This is another show. We have another show. Just doing a mic check right quick. Can y'all hear us out here?
Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition, another morning edition. I don't know. We can't call it a morning. That's a trademark name. We'll figure out some type of morning with the walkers, walking with the mornings. In the morning we walk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
From Ask a Walker.
Let us know where you're watching us from, what part of the world you're in. If you're local, let us know in the comments.
Because it could very well be evening or night.
That's true. We do have a lot of
clients overseas.
Our clients are overseas. They're relocated to the area, PCS into the area. So let us know in the comment section. My name is Abraham Walker, and this is my co-host, Crystal Walker, and we make up the Ask a Walker team, where we provide you all with content about the Northern Virginia area with the hopes that you choose our real estate business to help you with either buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate. We look at these videos as an opportunity to sort of do an interview before you decide which company you're going to use, right? And so we want to kind of display our expertise, and also kind of give you an idea of what's it like to work with us, right? Because we are a husband and wife team. Crystal handles the administrative side of the business. I handle the sales side of the business. So that's what this show is about. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we come to you with another topic in this live stream setup. We do a live stream versus a scripted conversation that you normally see on the YouTube, because this gives you opportunity to jump in, ask us any questions, and we can answer them in real time, right? So rather than you having to schedule a meeting with us to answer maybe one of your questions, you can just drop it in the chat section.
Yeah. But if you have more than one question, or if you would like to work with us, you can fill out the Perfect Home questionnaire, which is going to be linked in the description and also in the comments. So if you want to have a one-on-one with either Abraham or myself, where we can answer your questions about relocating to the area or any questions about the home buying process, fill out that Perfect Home questionnaire and we will schedule a virtual session with you.
That is correct. That is correct. So today we, and just so you can know, this is our second week.
This is week 2 of this new format.
Right. So this is show 4. Show 4, right? I think we should start numbering the show. So then if we tell people to go watch a show, they could just go back to a certain time period.
Okay, we need to update that in the spreadsheet.
Excellent.
That's fine.
Excellent.
That's possible.
Yes, we're building it while we're flying it. That's right. Anyway, so the way this show works, we start with a topic. Usually it's a buyer-centered topic, because even our seller clients are also going to be buyers in their
whether here or elsewhere. Yes,
exactly. So we start with the buyer topic, and then we'll pause. We'll answer any comments. So that's why it's important for you to put any comments that you may have that you want us to answer in the comment section just throughout our conversation. Then we'll go into more or less like a prepared presentation / conversation. And today's topic that we're covering is the pros and cons of living in Fairfax County. Today's buyer topic is going to be the steps to buying a new home. Right. So those are the two conversations we're going to have today. We're going to start with the new home conversation, take a pause, answer any comments, and then we're going to move into the conversation about the pros and cons of living in Fairfax County. Okay.
Roger that.
Everybody's on board with that?
Works for me.
Excellent.
Perfect. All right. So you said we're going to start with the steps to buying a new property or new construction?
New construction, okay. Yes. So in Northern Virginia, we don't really have that much new construction, and I would say the central part of Northern Virginia, and also all the way to the Potomac River, or I would say the more heavily lived in areas.
The more densely populated parts of Northern Virginia?
We don't really have that much new construction, but to the west and also to the south of Northern Virginia, there's a lot of new construction. So we have been getting more clients who have been either interested in new construction or just wanting to know about the new construction process, right? So today we want to start the conversation off with just giving you a brief overview of what you can expect for most builders in this area as far as like your timeline. Not necessarily how long it's going to take, because each builder is going to be different as far as the timeline, like how long they're going to take to deliver the property. But I just want to kind of give you an overview of what you can expect each phase of the process to be and what's going to happen during that phase, right? So the first step of the process is, of course, to choose or select a real estate agent. You're watching this video, we assume that you're going to be choosing us. Thank you so much for that selection. Some people may ask, what's the purpose of using a real estate agent when you're buying a new construction? That'll be a conversation for another day, because really just want to go through the steps, and then our prepared talk is about the pros and cons of living in Fairfax County. After you select your real estate agent, then you'll schedule your appointment to view the new construction property. Usually this has to do, usually you're doing some type of registration with the builder themselves, or the real estate agent, we can schedule the appointment with you, because sometimes the properties are either in the MLS already, where you can actually go see the model home, and then there's a map of all the lots that are available. So that's another option for you, right? So you have your walkthrough. The next stage is after you've done your walkthrough and you've decided that you want to move forward with a particular builder. Then you're going to actually put your contract in or your offer in.
And I just want to say before you go any further,
Go ahead.
you do want to make sure that you have your agent present for the initial walkthrough. Because if your agent is not with you when you initially tour the property, then chances are the builder may not allow your agent to represent you in a transaction.
That's true.
And so that could cause issues for you further down the line if you were to just stop by and see a new construction without your agent.
That's true. So one thing that Crystal brings up that's really important is that when you're getting represented by a real estate agent for a new construction property, the builder has already built in that price, the commission that's going to be paid to the real estate agent, into their package. So there really isn't necessarily a way for you to save that money, because the builder is either going to pay your real estate agent or just keep the price the way it is. So even though you would think that the builder would say, oh, you know what,
I'll give you a discount because you're unrepresented, but that's not actually how it works.
And it doesn't work like that for one reason and one reason only. Even if you're not represented, somebody's doing the work. Right?
Yes.
So either the builder knows that their real estate agent, their builder, their new home specialist, or the person that represents the builder, they're going to be doing the work, even if you don't do the work, right? Or even if
if your agent doesn't do the work,
Exactly.
the work has to get done on some end.
Exactly. So with that being said, the commission is already baked in. So that's why it really doesn't make sense for you not to have representation during the new construction process, right? So we have you select your agent, you do your walkthrough. You're going to be reviewing the contract. The builder's going to have a special contract for you to use for their property. If they're a larger builder, if they're a little small mom and pop builder, they may not have a new home contract for you. And then your agent will just prepare that for you on your behalf. Now, when you're putting your contract in, one thing you need to know is that most builders will require that any structural changes be firm at the time you put your contract in. So that means whether or not your basement is built out, whether or not you have a wall, a certain location, whether or not you have a loft in the bedroom, whether or not you have what else? Whether or not you have a covered patio, covered porch, whether or not you have a two-car garage with no divider in the middle, those type of structural changes all have to be decided at the time you put the offer in on the property, right? So if you need to take a little bit more time to determine what structural changes you want done on the property, go ahead, because in all cases, you're not going to be able to make any changes after the offer has been accepted by the builder, right? After you put your offering on after you put your offering on the property and you get the house under contract, there's really like 3 meetings that's going to occur, and they're kind of going to occur in different orders, right? So let's just cover those first 3 meetings. One, we have a meeting with the builder themselves. So your builder will most likely, if it's a larger builder, will assign you some type of property manager who is handling the entire project. Right? So this individual is most likely responsible for the construction of a few properties in the development, and then they're just going to give you a brief overview of the process. In addition to, because I don't want to say after, because I don't know when these meetings are going to occur, because they can't occur at the same time. So we have to meet the builder, then we have the design center session, right? So in the design center session, one thing you should know when you're buying new construction is the price that they market the property to you is really just the base price. It is not the price that you're most likely going to buy the property for.
Yes.
The base price is really just walls, windows, floors, toilets, basic, everything basic, right? The design center phase is when they do their upsell.
Yes, this is when you decide, am I going to have ceiling fans, recessed lights, even as you said the other day, light switches.
Light switches, right?
Yes.
Like everything is going to be decided in the design center phase. So you may have, and we had a client just last year who purchased a townhouse
last year
for, I think it was like $730. But then when the final bill was done after they went through their design center meeting, it was like $840,000.
Yeah, so he started around that price, that 730, 750, I think.
Yes.
And he ended up over 800 after finishes.
So this is the time, right? So if you get under contract on a new construction property, just know that there is another upsell. So that price that's on that initial contract isn't the price.
Now, just be mindful. He chose a lot of updates.
He did.
So that's why he ended up, so far above. Like he wanted, a lot of recess lighting in every room and a lot of things that were.
He did get like a $15,000 countertop upgrade.
Yes, exactly. So he chose top of the line for every option that there was. So that's kind of why he got to such a vast difference in that list price, our base price to actual sales price.
Now, one of the things you may be wondering is why would I even need to upgrade anything or include anything in the design center phase? Couldn't I just buy the property without any upgrades? You could, but one of the things, so let's talk about one upgrade that you probably get that you didn't even know they're going to charge you for, which is the fact that in Virginia, at least, when you go into a room in Virginia, even now there are several houses like this where the light switch really just is a functioning light switch for a plug. So it means you can put a lamp in.
Yeah, so it's just to turn on an outlet.
An outlet, right? So most people don't like that setup. Most people would prefer to have a light in their room, right? Their bedrooms, usually the bedrooms, right? So the light switch is one charge, and then the light itself is another charge. But if you want to get a ceiling fan, that's going to be an additional charge, right? So there's all these different fees associated to building a house, right? And they're going to make sure that they
capitalize on all of it.
Exactly. So you have your design center meeting, and then the third meeting that happens after you put your house under contract or your new construction property under contract is a meeting about wiring, right? So with the wiring meeting, they're going to talk to you about this, they're going to get very detailed as to where you want all your outlets, where you want, if you have Ethernet cables, HDMI cables, any type of high-speed internet cables, everything. The wiring meeting is going to be very detailed about the process. And this is another opportunity for you to be upsold, right? So you're not going, it's hard to conceptualize everything that goes into building a home, and builders do this on a regular basis. So it makes sense for them to kind of chop the meetings up or to separate the meetings to give you ample time to think about your decision, come up with a new alternative, right? Because in some instances, it could take you anywhere from 6 to 12 months to receive your property. So that means that's a long time for you to be thinking about this house that's being developed, right? So again, after you have submitted your contract, there's 3 meetings that are going to occur that will happen in some order. There's the meet with the builder, there is the design center meeting, and then there's the wiring meeting, right? After that, there's going to be a lot of time that passes between those meetings and your first sort of inspection to kind of see how the property looks, which is going to be your pre-drywall walkthrough. Now, it's a walkthrough because you have an option of bringing an inspector with you or not. We recommend bringing inspectors at 2 different phases, right? So this is more expensive, but you got to consider if you have the builder at your disposal before you submit your contract. I mean, before you close on the property and sign all the paperwork. So you want to do everything that you can do to get the house, as close to 100% of what your vision of it is as possible, right? So the first place we recommend that you get an inspection is actually in the pre-drywall walkthrough. This is where a licensed home inspector will come in and just verify that all of the outlets are working properly, making sure that the beams or the 2x4s or whatever they're using in the walls to support your building or are installed properly. And this is the best inspection for you to get an idea of what's behind the walls, right? Because in a traditional home inspection, there's walls everywhere. So that means that you don't know what's behind those walls. So you're really kind of guessing the condition of most things in an existing property, right? So that's your pre-drywall walkthrough. The next walkthrough that's going to occur is going to happen a few months later, and that's going to be your 1 week before closing walkthrough. This 1 week before closing walkthrough will allow you to see how the finishes look, right? Oftentimes, builders will use different subcontractors to paint the property, to install the cabinets, to install the flooring. And this is really your first time to kind of see the property the way you're going to live in it. And what I find is that my clients usually have to request that the builder repaint a couple rooms or clean up some paint off of the trim work. This is also a time when we recommend another home inspection, right? Now, home inspections in Northern Virginia are going to cost anywhere from $600 to $800, depending on the size of the unit, right? And so when you're doing a home inspection with that 1 week before closing, walkthrough, you're really kind of doing a traditional home inspection where you're making sure, again, all of the outlets work, all of the windows work. There's no problems with the HVAC system. There's no problems with the water lines. Like, these are the things that the home inspector is going to come in. It's much easier, in my opinion. While it is an investment, it's much easier just to hire a home inspector, a licensed home inspector, have them come with you during your 1 week before closing walkthrough. Get them to give you a thorough analysis of the condition or state of the property, and then you'll use that document to negotiate with the builder on what needs to be done next, right? Mm-hmm. The second to last event that we have, or the penultimate.
I see that.
Anyway, the second to last meeting is going to be your 1 hour before closing occurs, right? So this 1 hour before closing is the meeting that occurs to find out if everything that you found 1 week before closing was done, right? The builders have access to so many contractors that it's much easier for them to just knock out a punch list within those 7 to 10 days than it would be for you. So you're going to give them this list 1 week before closin, and then 1 hour before closing, you'll go to check to make sure that those items are done. Also, this is the time when they should have all of the paperwork cleared by the county as far as just clearance and just make sure that they've closed out the property, so then they could deliver the property to you with no liens or encumbrances, right? And so that's the 1 hour before the closing. This is the time when you really want to be nitpicky. You want to check, dot all your I's, cross all your T's. It doesn't make sense not to. Don't try to think to yourself that, I'm not going to be unreasonable, or I'm not going to nag. This is the time to nag. This is the time to do everything, because the builder wants to make sure that you sign the documents so then they can get their money and they can move on to their next project, right? Now, with new home construction, there is a warranty that comes with the property. Yes. But keep in mind, warranty work means that you've already paid them the money that they're really looking for. And now they're really just more or less servicing you or providing you with customer service. That's different than you already having the money and them wanting that money from you, right? So you have more control before you sign the paperwork. Use that control to your advantage. The last meeting when you're buying a new construction property is going to be the closing, right? This is where you sign all the paperwork. This is when they transfer the keys to you. Some builders will, if you don't use their lender, if you don't use their title company, some builders will actually hold the keys until the money from your lender or the cash that you're bringing to the table is actually deposited into their account, right? So you may get the keys 2, 3, 4, 5 days later. if you don't use the lender's,
if you don't use the builder's
lender and title company, right? So these are just some of the common things that occur in new construction properties, right? So if you're buying a new construction property in the Northern Virginia area, again, those steps are you're going to find an agent. Hello. You're going to do the walkthrough where you walk through either the property being built or
the model
home, most likely, right? You're going to have the contract review process. You have the meet the builder phase or meeting. You have a design center meeting, wiring meeting, pre-drywall walkthrough. 1 week before closing walkthrough, 1 hour before closing walkthrough, and then the closing. And that's it. That's everything you need to know. Well, not everything you need to know, but those are the phases, are what you can expect in a traditional new construction building. Woo, that was a lot.
That was.
You know, when I was making those notes, I didn't think it was going to be that.
Nor did I.
That intent.
Nor did I.
So yeah, so let's go clear out the comment section now. So we have a couple comments. We have Abby watching from Woodbridge. Hello, Abby. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us on today's show. So now we're going to actually start talking about the pros and cons of living in Fairfax County. We live in Fairfax County. We've been living here since 2013. So whenever you watch this video, just do that little quick math. And we really enjoy the Fairfax County area, but we understand that there are certain things about Fairfax County that they have some quirks about it, right? And we want to kind of give you an idea of what those quirks are from people who actually live here, and hopefully this gives you a more textured experience before you actually either make the move here or you transition here from another area, right?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the pros and cons, and also I have a couple that are they pros or are they cons? Like I didn't really know which way to label them, so I'll let you decide for yourself what you think of those.
That's correct. You want to start us off with the first pro?
So the first pro is going to be employment opportunities. There's so much growth in employment opportunities here in Fairfax County. We have a large number of Fortune 500 companies in the area, actually 11. There are 17 Fortune 500 companies in the DC metro area, and 11 of those are actually here in Fairfax County. And those are going to be companies like Freddie Mac, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Capital One. Yep. I mean, just a lot of companies that you've heard of, even some companies you probably haven't even heard of, like DXC Technologies. So there's a lot of opportunity in Fairfax County with those companies, but also we have so many people who work for the federal government, whether they're in the military or they just work for the federal government, either as general contractors or even, I mean, the Pentagon is the largest employer in the area.
That's true.
And that includes civilian employees. So there's just so much opportunity for growth here, and the economic impact is clear.
That's true. I would say that one of the benefits of moving to this area, if you are in certain industries, you won't have to feel like, you know what, like say for instance, like if you lived in Detroit when the automobile industry was popping, then you kind of, you know, if that automobile company went out of business, then
you were out of luck.
You were out of luck. Whereas in the Fairfax County area, at least if you're in the IT field or the healthcare field or so healthcare, IT, what's the other one?
The other one is government contractor.
Government contractor, right? So if you're in those three industries, then you can move around, right? Like,
yes, there's so much opportunity to move within the county. Also, the median income here is significantly higher than the rest of the country. The median income in Fairfax County is over $124,000, which is, I mean, the national average is $62,000.
That's true.
Right? So we're talking about double the amount by living in the area. Now, one thing that could be considered a con is that while this area is a great place for people with higher levels of education and people who work in professional fields, it's not necessarily a great place for unskilled laborers,
right?
Because the cost of living is so high, so it does kind of price some people out of living in Fairfax County.
That's true. It's I would say it's challenging to work your way up in this area because so many people have advanced degrees that are required for just quote unquote entry level positions here. Another thing that's cool about the employment opportunities here is that we have a very low unemployment rate.
Absolutely.
Just in general, like people here are gainfully employed. So that also lends itself to us having a strong housing market because people never really lose their jobs.
It's true. Yeah. So the unemployment rate in Fairfax County right now is 2.3, which is nearly 2 percentage points lower than the national average. And it's consistently lower than the national average.
Last thing, we got to mention this about employment opportunities. Amazon HQ2, the second headquarters, is also located here. It's being built out right now. They started that whole initiative in 2019. And with 25,000 expected employees and no telling how many other businesses that are going to be servicing Amazon, this is, again, another reason why the employment piece of living in the Fairfax County area is so lucrative, right?
That's true. And not just the HQ2, but they also have data centers. I mean, all the way from here to Loudoun County.
That's true.
So there's lots of employment opportunity just with that one company, not to mention the other tech companies that are located in Reston, like Google, IBM, and Microsoft. So there are lots of opportunities here for people who work in those industries.
That's true. Excellent. So what's the next pro?
The next pro is education. Something that we talk about frequently here is the education system here. The public school education system here in Fairfax County is consistently one of the top rated public schools in the country, including the number one rated high school, Thomas Jefferson, TJ, has been the number one rated high school according to U.S. News for the last couple of years. And so that is definitely a draw for parents, specifically parents who are focusing or who have kids who are focusing on like that science and technology fields. But that's just one school. And it is quite competitive to get in. But even
saying it's quite competitive is an understatement.
That is an understatement.
Yes. I mean, parents are breeding their kids. I'm just fine.
No,
parents,
it's a big deal. It's a big deal to some parents. But even if you're not interested in that, we still have a number of schools that have advanced placement programs. We have high schools with the IB program or International Baccalaureate, and not just our higher level or upper level schools are rated high, but we have a large number of lower schools or elementary schools that are also considered pretty good. 17 elementary schools in the area have immersion foreign language programs.
Right.
And that's where students are taught part of the day in another language, and not just like Spanish or French, but also German and Chinese. So there are a wide variety of languages taught as far as foreign languages available in the different programs here in Fairfax County.
That's true. I would say another benefit to another pro or reason why the school system here is quite impressive is when you get into the high school age, the high school years, you have access to all of the sports, right? So if your kid is trying to be, active, all of the high schools have almost all of the sports. I would say crew is one of the sports that isn't at every.
No, it's only at maybe 3 of the high schools have crew. But outside of that sport, pretty much everything else is available at all the schools. It's almost identical. Now I'll talk about what's different in some schools. So we have a pretty significant number of advanced placements programs for our lower level elementary schools. So you have advanced placement in two different ways in Fairfax County. You either have advanced placement programs or advanced placement centers. And so centers are a separate school that your child would go to, where all their classes are full-time advanced placement. And then you have other schools where only students who qualify are in those classes and they attend those classes, but they're still at their same school.
Right.
Their home-based school, the school they would have been zoned for. So that's when we've seen that grow, and that's really for parents to decide if they think that that's a pro or a con. The number of students in the advanced placement program has swelled so much over the last 10 years. And part of that is due to parent demand,
Yes.
because we have parents in Fairfax County who are very aggressive in what they believe their children are capable of and where their children should be ranked. And so parents have pushed for that. Even our local elementary school that our children previously attended has turned now, I believe, into into not a center, but a center. Into one of the advanced placement programs. And so you see that because the number of parents or number of students in the programs grow. So we just in the course of the time that we've lived here, we've seen more and more schools being added as advanced placement programs and centers.
Even though there's no statistical evidence that shows that your little bundle of joy is going to get a better job in the future just because they go through the advanced placement program.
That's true. However, it's a combination of things, whether it's demand by the parents or demand because of students who qualify. So that's definitely something that we see here in Fairfax County. Another thing.
Before we move on, though, a quick aside, there was when we first got here in 2013, our oldest son was just going into kindergarten. And so our school, we're in the Hayfield pyramid. So our elementary school that our kids go to is Lane Elementary School. They went to. Okay. One of them goes there now, or one of them is still age appropriate. Anyway. So at this, we're new parents. This is our first kid going into the public school system. So we're super active, like most of you will be. And I was at a meeting with some of the dads. We were starting some type of dad initiative, right? And so at this meeting, one of the dads told me that his kid was going to be in an advanced placement program. Now, we're from New Orleans. In New Orleans, we don't have advanced placement.
It was called gifted back then.
Yeah, it was called gifted and talented, right? And so I was in the gifted and talented program. So I didn't know that there was a different. I thought, that everywhere use the same term. So when you told me advanced placement or is it advanced placement? That's what he called it? Yes, yeah, most likely. Yes. So then when he told me that, I was like, what is that? And so he explained to me, I said, oh, so that's like the gifted and talented program. He said, yes, it's just like that. They just have a different name here. I said, okay. And so then I asked him, I said, wait, we're all in this same group and all of us have kids around the same age. So I assumed that he must have had a kid older than my kid. And I was like, okay, so how old is your oldest kid? And he was like, oh, our kids are the same age. And I was like, wait a minute, how do you know your kid's going to be in advanced placement in kindergarten? Because in advanced placement, I
think in second grade is when they start to evaluate the kids.
They start to evaluate you, but you don't start the classes until
third grade.
Right? So this guy was thinking
he already decided
for his kindergartner that he was going to be in advanced placement.
And honestly, our son, actually both of our sons qualified for advanced placement, and we decided not to put. We're not. Well, I'm making a point. The point I'm making is we opted not to send them through the advanced placement program. Right. Exactly. That was not something we were interested in because we did not want to separate them. And I'm going to actually make a point, come back around to this point. We didn't want to separate them and have them in a different pyramid or a different school system. Then one of the things we like most about the area is that our kids live and play and go to school with the people who are in their immediate community.
That's true.
And so we didn't want to bust them to a school where they would be in class with strangers. And also, honestly, as parents, we haven't bought into the whole idea that advanced placement is going to lead them anywhere differently. We believe much more strongly in their home life being the center of what's going to push them. So off my soapbox. Now, what I was going to say.
I want to continue my soapbox. In this little session with this guy, right? So this guy tells me his kid's going to be in advanced placement. And I asked the guy, I said, wait, has your kid been showing that he could do geometry at an early age? Is he already doing the Pythagorean theorem? Like, what is he doing? What is he expressing that tells you that he could be in advanced placement? The guy has no answer. He just feels that his kid is advanced placement material. And that is, I would say, that's one of the cons of the school system here. Really, more or less the environment here is that everyone believes that their kid is like a unique.
Yes. And sometimes some parents put up a stink about it, which then causes there to be changes. And maybe that may be part of the reason why we've seen advanced placement numbers swell the way they have.
It's not maybe. That is the reason. Okay. Parents are pushing the issue as far as my kid is advanced placement. So now the schools are just responding to it. That's all.
So there's room for families to grow within pyramids. That's another thing that we like about the pyramid system here, are living in Fairfax County, is that if you are we live in a Hayfield pyramid, there's room for your family to grow in size throughout the community. So you don't necessarily have to move to a new neighborhood as your family grows. In this area, we have everything from condos to townhouses and single family homes. So as your family grows, they can grow within that one high school pyramid without feeling a need to leave the area.
Yes. Now, one of the cons that I think that is really talked about is, first of all, Fairfax County isn't as diverse as you would think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an international area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the job base here, the fact that we have all these headquarters, like Crystal alluded to earlier. So there are a lot of people from different areas that live here. But as you move to the northern part of Fairfax County and it becomes much more expensive, then diversity dips drastically.
Considerably.
Yes.
There was actually a high school that we were considering relocating to that pyramid. It is a very highly rated high school. We thought that we might want to live in that area. And when I pulled up the numbers as far as the demographics, I want to say that there were 11 Black students in the whole school.
Right.
It's a high school, and over 2,000 students. 11 of them were Black, which is fine. But for some people, but if diversity is something you're concerned about, if you want to make sure that your children are in an atmosphere that they're most comfortable in, and they're most comfortable in a situation where there are more people like themselves, then that may be a concern for you.
That is, yes.
And we only bring it up because some people do care about that. We care about it. When we were thinking about it, we really like the school. They have great numbers, great ratings. But that was just a little bit we live in one of the most diverse parts of Fairfax County.
Yes, but we also live in the southern part.
We live in southern Fairfax County. Yes. We live in one of the most diverse parts of Fairfax County, and our kids love it. We love it. Our neighborhood is, I don't want to say a melting pot because it's really cliche, but it really kind of is, right? We meet there's just lots of different people here, and we didn't want it's such a sharp contrast to go from this area to living in northern Fairfax County, and we just decided against it.
Now, if you did move to northern Fairfax County, this is another thing that's really not talked about. Northern Fairfax County schools have more. Stop that, Siri. Northern Fairfax County schools have more. As far as the elementary schools, they have more resources for those schools. So you'll find a lot more foreign language programs.
Yes, so that's one thing that we found. We have a series on the channel where I reviewed or I gave information about a whole bunch of all of the schools, all the high schools and several elementary schools. And in doing that research, this was a couple of years ago, what I found was there were so many foreign language programs available, and they're called FLES or Flex. There are two different ones throughout Fairfax County. I was surprised because the way I started doing the videos, I started in the area that we live and the schools I was most familiar with. And then I started branching out to different parts of the county. Well, as I was doing the research, I was like, wait, all these schools have foreign language programs. And this is in the lower level, elementary schools. All these schools have foreign language programs. And there was just more and more. And I realized in my immediate area, there was like maybe one school, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. One school in this pyramid, and then this next pyramid over, one school has it. And then as I looked further and further into it, I was like, oh, wow, all these schools in northern Fairfax County, they all have the foreign language program. And like I said, we do have a number of immersion programs throughout Fairfax County. I feel like those are more equally dispersed. But the foreign language and elementary school program, which is what the FLES stands for, I don't really find that is available as much in southern Fairfax County. And I was shocked by that just because I assumed that it was all the same.
Right.
Because before I did the elementary schools, I'd researched the high schools, and the high schools were pretty even across the board as far as what was available at them. So I was surprised to see that about the elementary schools.
I was surprised because it's much more expensive to live in northern Fairfax County.
It is.
And it is in a traditional area, right? So even though you come to Fairfax County and you think you made it, right? You probably make way more money than you ever made before. You're living in a house that's way more expensive than you ever probably could have imagined.
Yeah.
But then once you get here and you kind of start to get into the details, you notice that there's still like a north versus south, even in this area. There's still like a tracks, right? There's still like we're the people below the tracks or the other side of the tracks, and then there are the tracks. And
well, so here's what I'll say. So I know from when we were considering moving to that more expensive area, we definitely were not moving into a multi-million-dollar home, right? So we were looking for something within the budget. And what I found was there are some areas in that very top pyramid. There are some areas in that Great Falls area that you can find an older, smaller, not renovated, split level single family for under $700,000.
right.
At least that was before this most recent boom,
Right.
right? So it's possible to get into a home for under $1 million in that area, so long as you're willing to make concessions on the top of home. So if school is like your number one priority for you, like if that is your big thing, then you could get into that very top pyramid at a lower price. It's just going to come with some concessions.
That's true. That's true. This isn't a thing that, I mean, we're real estate agents, so we could have found the property and
Yes.
we could have moved our family to those areas. For us, we want to teach our boys this lesson too, is that life isn't just about accumulating possessions and living in the best places and all that other stuff, right? It's like a holistic approach to living. And so we take a holistic approach to our school experience as well, right?
Yes,
So
it's not just about the test scores. It's about the overall experience
Yes.
at the school and having a positive experience. And we couldn't be sure. And it's not to say they would have had a bad experience
That's true.
at that school, but
It feels risky.
it felt risky to us.
It does.
And we just didn't think that we wanted to take that chance.
That's true. That's true. Also, we're from New Orleans. New Orleans has a very high population of African Americans. So we're not really used to feeling like a minority.
Yes.
Whereas when you come here, you will feel like a minority.
You're definitely more
immediately.
aware of it.
Yes.
Which is interesting because our boys have a completely different outlook on everything than we did, because this is where they've grown up. We moved here when our oldest was 5 and our youngest was about to turn 3.
That's true.
So to them, this is the norm. And so since they've lived here and this is like their base zero, like this is where they're comfortable, we just feel like we want to keep them where they're comfortable, and we didn't want to necessarily put them in a place where they felt other than.
That's true. That's true. So this may be just in our minds, right? But we are parents, right? Parents have these conversations about their littles all the time. Before we go into our next pro, we want to go to the comment section. We do have a comment from
Let's
I
see,
believe it's
Zoka, maybe.
Zoka. Yes, the schools in Fairfax are much better than Atlanta. Atlanta does have the excellent Black population, but way too much going on in Atlanta. Loving Fairfax, Virginia. Yes, we actually, when we relocated from New Orleans, we were just going to move anywhere in the country, really.
Yes,
because
it was really random how we
Yes.
chose to move here.
Well, it wasn't random. It was, I mean, we ran a business in New Orleans. We were closing that business down to start another business. So it wasn't like we were relocating because of a job. We were just relocating to put our boys into the best environment possible. And one of the things that was really important to us was great public schools, because we knew, or I knew at least, I was in the gifted and talented program back home, and I was bused to different schools. And when I came home, it wasn't the best experience because all of the kids,
they went to school together, they played
Yes.
together. He didn't have that same experience.
I didn't have those friends, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, like my silent violin. As I go through this.
Poor you and G&T.
Yes. Yes.
But
I didn't want my kids to go through that same experience. So having a great public school system was very important in our decision-making process. And if you research public schools or great public schools, Fairfax County,
it came
Loudoun County,
it kept coming up.
Montgomery County, this area is always on the list. So that was one of the reasons why we came up here, was just to put them in a better ecosystem, right? Now, I think we're splitting hairs if we move from Kingstown, where we live, which has
solid schools. We're happy with them,
to a higher rated school, right? So I think that now we're going from the 90th best school to like the 97th.
Best so school. That's what he says. It's like if you get a 90 on the test, it's like a low A. We can move up to like a 97, but at what cost?
At what cost, right?
And so we've decided we're gonna go ahead and kick it with our 90. We're gonna stay in our 90.
Here. We like the people here.
We like the people here. Is there too many other things about this area that we feel are 97s?
Yes.
for us to give up where we live.
That's true. That's true. Okay, let's clear this out. Okay, Zoka agrees. So thank you so much. Yes, totally agree. And we have another comment here from Jordan. I understand that this is on Fairfax County. Me and my wife just got an offer accepted in the
Marumsco Woods, that's in Woodbridge.
Oh, yes.
Look, he says, which is in Woodbridge.
I was curious about what you think about that subdivision. We'd have to dive into that particular subdivision. I would say that it's subdivisions here, if they're not like the larger subdivisions like Lake Ridge in the Woodbridge area, or even like Montclair or Potomac Shores or Eagle Point, right? Like if they're not that large, then there's not going to really be as much data. So we may have to do like a collection of information about that particular subdivision. But if you check into the description, there's a link to our Perfect Home questionnaire. If you fill that out, Jordan, we can actually have a conversation where we do a little research on our end and kind of walk you through what to expect if you were living in that particular subdivision. But thank you so much for that question, Jordan. Excellent. So what's the next pro?
The next pro is proximity. So first off, of course, we know about the proximity to Washington, D.C., right? Like we're very close to D.C. So I'm not going to say it's an easy commute. We're going to talk about that a little later, but we're close to D.C. All North Virginia and Fairfax County really is a suburb of D.C. And so we're close to it. That makes, commuting not so bad. We're close to all the things there to do in DC. So not even just thinking about, working in that area, but all of the museums and cool things that you can experience when you're visiting Washington, DC, whether that's Smithsonian Museums, the Botanical Gardens, the Kennedy Center, all of those great things there are to do in DC. Also, since we're close to the city, we have all the major sports teams. So it's interesting. We have a lot of transplants here. So maybe you're not a Washington football team fan. Maybe you're not a Nats fan, maybe you're not a Wizards fan but perhaps your home team will play here. That's true. That's a benefit. When the Saints come down and play the Washington football team, we know every couple of years we'll get to see our Saints in person if we want to. And so that's a benefit. Also, you have the is it the Capital One Arena or Verizon now?
Sure.
Whatever it is, it's across from the National Portrait Gallery, but there's always concerts and different things going on there. So you're never far away from the action of the city while being in this bedroom community here in Fairfax County.
That's true. That's true. And in addition to the proximity, you're also close to, you can go to the beach or the mountains in 2 hours, right? Either direction. And that's a huge benefit if you like the outdoors. If you don't like the outdoors like us, no, I'm not.
Well, first of all, we like
to drive through the outdoors.
We like the mountains. We're not necessarily beach people,
right? But we don't go on the trails. Like we're not trying to go break an ankle or something like that.
No, not at all. We like a nice little intermediate trail.
We like to look at the overlooks, right? We in our car with our snacks. We look at the overlook at Shenandoah Mountain.
We hike because we have hiking videos here on this channel.
We hike like paved trails. Like we don't hike where you get like a stick,
we don't do anything
like a backpack and like a satellite phone. Like that's not we're not those type of people.
No, not at all.
My hands are way too soft for that.
But if you're not like mountain people, not beach people, we're so close to
mountain people. That's
like people who enjoy going to the mountains. Like in theory, every year we say we're gonna like get a cabin in Shenandoah, and we have yet to do it. Like every time I'm like looking for like the Airbnbs or on the vacation rental website, and every time I'm like, no Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Low are they like you have to drive up a gravel trail, and I'm like, maybe not.
Me every time.
Every time we keep saying we'll see a really nice one. Someone to post one, and it'll be beautiful, and they'll have a hot tub. And next thing you know, I'm on the website trying to book, and before I can confirm, I always back out.
Around there.
Can't do it.
I just can't.
Can't do it. But anyway,
if you're similar to us in that regard, then there's also major cities. Right?
Major cities.
There's Philadelphia.
That's where our speed.
2.5 hours away. But really, the closest place is going to be Baltimore. Baltimore has great seafood. There's great attractions in the Baltimore area, especially for the littles. There's
New York is just 4 hours away, which maybe not a day trip, but definitely a quick shot up. You can also take the train if you don't want to drive to New York.
And to the south, you have Virginia Beach. Well,
What?
That's not really a major place.
Myrtle Beach. We drove
Beach,
there
yeah,
before.
there you
That was
go.
like a 6-hour drive, I think.
We did.
Mhm.
Also, there's you have access to North Carolina. So if you want to go to Charlotte, I don't know
Mhm.
what's in Charlotte yet, but there's that. There's that.
Yes.
Right? I guess the main point is that you're centrally located to several places, so you could get around
Mhm.
to different attractions, right? In
Mhm.
addition to just the wide variety of things to do in DC proper, there's just so much that you have quick access to.
Yes, we have during the summertime. We love to visit all the amusement parks when the kids are out of school. So, kid you not, 25 minutes from our front door is a Six Flags. So, a couple years ago, we got like the summer pass at Six Flags, and we took the kids every week.
That's true.
Now, is it the best Six Flags? No. Is it Disney World? Absolutely not.
Yes.
But is it an amusement park within 25 minutes of our house?
Yes.
That it is.
That is.
And the boys had a fantastic time. You know, we wanted to go a little bit further out. We went to Williamsburg, which is about 3 hours from here.
Mm-hmm. Well, before you even get to Williamsburg, there's King's Dominion.
King's Dominion, which is in Richmond. So that's like what, an hour and a half away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's King's Dominion, which that's very popular for families here in the area. You can go to drive down there on a weekend, you know, drive down there, have a good time, be home a little bit after dinner. So King's Dominion is really popular. It's an amusement park, and also there's a water park as well. Same thing with Busch Gardens. Busch Garden is like 3 hours from here in Williamsburg.
Yes.
So we've gone there, spend a few days with the family in Williamsburg to visit Busch Gardens, which also water park and theme park. Williamsburg is also known for Colonial Williamsburg. If you're a history buff, check that out. You can see people doing like the live reenactments of those times.
I wasn't a fan.
We were not, but still, some people may be. It's there. If that's your thing, it's available.
If that's what you like, that's
also in Williamsburg is a Great Wolf Lodge, which has like an indoor. You may have heard of it because they have locations throughout the country, but they have the indoor water park, and that's in Williamsburg as well, which is, like I said, 3 hours away. So lots of good day trips, lots of places to go just for a few days with just a quick drive. So road trips abound. Like, just you'll find something to do during your downtime. And again, the proximity, so much stuff is another pro of living in Fairfax County.
Now, one of the cons of us having such close proximity to all these different places is that we have weekend traffic.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So people here, they travel a lot. And so either they're going on the road trips or going to their beach houses or just in general, they just travel a lot here. Mm-hmm. So on the weekends, we have traffic, especially on Fridays, all day Friday, people leaving the area, and then all day Sunday, people coming back to get ready to go back to work. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the cons, but I don't know if you can really say it's a con because you do have quick access to take yourself a road trip and experience another part of the East Coast.
We have another comment you want to clear up before we move on?
Excellent. Let's clear up another comment. Zoka says, any thoughts on Fairfax and Prince William County homes versus the Montgomery County and Prince George County homes? I would say that the biggest difference between those two areas is that I would say that Fairfax County and Prince William County, Fairfax County has higher rated public schools, and then
not higher than Montgomery County though. Montgomery County has higher rated schools.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, but she's looking at a different section. So she's saying Prince William County, Fairfax County versus Montgomery County versus Prince George County. So Fairfax County is going to be higher rated than Prince William County, but collectively you're still going to get a positive public school experience. Whereas in Montgomery County and Prince George County, there is a huge gap between Montgomery County and Prince George County schools. So, and also there's going to be a huge gap in prices.
Yeah, I mean,
Montgomery County prices are similar to our northern Fairfax County prices because if you look at it on the map, northern Fairfax County, Arlington, Montgomery County, they're all like in that same region, right? And so they're going to attract the same individuals or clientele, as you may say. And so that's you just have to deal with the cost of that option, Montgomery County. Montgomery County is a great place, though.
It is. And then PG County is known, they have more affordable homes, and you can get a very large home for what most would consider a reasonable price. However, in Maryland, overall, you're your taxes are higher, and also they are not necessarily known for their schools, or if they are known for their schools, it's not necessarily in the best way, in that a lot of parents who live in Prince George County opt to put their kids in private school.
Yes,
and that is very well known throughout the area.
Yes, private school market is very robust in the Prince George County area, not so much in Montgomery County. Montgomery County, while they do have some prestigious private schools, is just really just tied to the fact that it's a high net worth
area.
Yes, a high median household income area. So they just have more prestigious institutions there, right? So Jordan has another question. Question about the preschool system in pretty much all of Virginia. I am from California, and I was curious about the naming convention to know if it is a daycare or a preschool. That's a great question. Is it a daycare or a preschool?
So we actually just talked about preschool last week very briefly
in Prince William
County. If you're in Prince William County, I believe, but I'm not certain, that they have preschools. In Fairfax County, we don't have preschools.
Right.
Or there are a few part-time programs that they're very small, so it's not even worth mentioning.
Yes.
In most of Northern Virginia, we have daycare. It's privately paid daycare.
Expensive too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The daycare here was actually twice what we paid in Louisiana.
Yes.
But so we are more familiar with daycare here in Fairfax County specifically. I know there are some preschools in Prince William County, but I don't know if it's throughout the entire county. Because actually, maybe even 2 years before we moved here, Fairfax County wasn't even doing kindergarten full day.
That's
it was
true.
Only part-time, because we actually considered moving here a couple years before we actually did. And at that time, Fairfax County didn't even have full-time kindergarten.
So Jordan, again, you have some very detailed questions. It seems like you all are definitely moved to the area. Please check out the link in the description to our Perfect Home questionnaire so we can kind of schedule a one-on-one with you and kind of get all your questions answered. But we do appreciate you asking them. Zoka also says, any thoughts on garages in Fairfax County? Are garages worth it? Are they? I guess it depends on what you plan on using the garage for. If you have a Tesla, all right, or any type of other electrical vehicle that you want to plug in to your car, some HOAs don't allow you to run the cord to your car from your house. So if you do have electric vehicle, right, you're going to probably need a garage to park that thing in. If you don't have an electric vehicle, but maybe you're into woodworking, where you're going to put your woodworking shop and stuff like that, the garages are okay here. Our weather here isn't really that bad, so we have and we're going to talk about this shortly. We don't really have like the worst weather.
Yeah.
So having a garage is not, in some areas, like when it really snows, like it's snowing outside right now, but that's not normal.
Yeah. Like that snow will be gone tomorrow, and then maybe it'll snow again in February.
Possibly. Right. And so if it's only snowing like 2 or 3 times a year, you don't really have the same, I don't want to have to go clean my car off. Like we don't have that.
And also, even if you do park your car in the garage, now you have to shovel the drive.
That's true.
So you're not getting out of shoveling. So it really depends on why you want the garage. Like a lot of people use their garage as storage.
That's true.
Like we have a garage here, and we've never even once parked either of our cars in it.
That's true.
Not even once.
Even our friends who have luxury vehicles, we don't even see them putting their cars in garages. And some of them have some really nice vehicles. And the weather here isn't harsh enough to really need the car covering, but it is a nice to have. You are going to pay a slight premium for it, because people come here and they expect to use their garage, but then usually just storage.
Once you get here, you probably won't use it. Like I said, it's usually storage for most people. Even our block is 6 houses, and only one person parks their car in the garage.
That's true.
Out of the 6 in our strip on our square.
Now I will say, Zoka, if you're moving to this area and you're thinking about buying a townhouse with a garage and not having a garage, the challenge with the garage is that you now have taken up some of your living space, right? So even if you were going to use it for storage, now it's just all garage space, which then limits you. Like we live in a townhouse with a garage, and I kind of want a townhouse without a garage, because I lose so much space, right? Because of
Yes.
the garage.
Our
itself.
rec room is smaller. So our family room on the lower level is smaller than if we didn't have the garage.
That's true. That's true. So now, one of the cons to having a garage, one of the pros to having a garage is that if you live in a townhouse, is that you don't have to bring your trash can all the way around the back, right? So I see my neighbors who don't have garages, they have to make that journey all the way.
Also, it's difficult because even for the trash collectors to get to it, you have to bring it around to like the corner for the trash collectors to get to it. Whereas we could just put ours on the sidewalk. It's weird. Yeah, I definitely prefer having a garage though.
Yes. So garage. Thank you so much for that question. Keep the questions coming. We have a couple more points that we're going to cover, and then we'll answer your questions in between those points. So the next thing is
public transportation.
Public transportation here is more for getting you to and from work. And so it's great in the sense that you don't have to drive necessarily, right? So you don't have to be on the highway if you don't want to be on the highway. If you do live in a major employment base, or if you do work at a major employment base or one of the major employment bases like Tyson's Corner, the Pentagon, Crystal City, DC proper, Arlington, Reston, then you could jump on the metro, get to work, walk to work, jump back on the metro, get back in your car and go home, right?
But you will not more than likely be able to walk home from the metro. This is not a walkable area. So really our metro system is more for people who are going to drive in, park their car, and then take the metro from there. There are very few people who will walk from the metro. So this isn't a walkable place where you can like get by without a car. So public transportation really is only for commuters. You're not using it to like run errands and go to the supermarket and things like that like you would in a big city.
That's true. In Fairfax County, right? So we're talking about Fairfax County. This area is rather large. In Fairfax County, this is a car-dependent place, right? So even though we have a rather large population in a considerably small area, doesn't matter. We don't have the infrastructure as far as enough buses or enough. We could have more buses, but they just don't have them. Buses. Also, if you go into northern Fairfax County, the houses are a little bit more spaced apart, so it's just not conducive to public transit. You can't just be here without a car.
It will be very difficult. Now I will say, since you mentioned buses, we do have 91 different bus routes that run throughout the county, and on average I think they have it says they have 30,000 passengers daily. However, again, that's strictly commuters. That's not really people trying to get around. I mean, don't get me wrong, some people do use the bus system, but it's not very much.
It's not what you think. Like when we lived in New Orleans, people used the bus to go to the grocery store, to run their errands. Like they only had the bus, right? And so
you don't see it as much here.
You don't see that as much here. I would say that another thing that's cool about living in Fairfax County is that we have a couple different commuting options, right? So you could drive, right? If you drive, if you're a baller, then you could pay for an HOV access, which allows you to get on the fancy part of our highway system
called the hub lane.
The hub lane, right? It's a high occupancy vehicle. So if you don't want somebody else ride with you, you can just pay that little upcharge and you'll be fine. But let's say, for instance, if you don't want to pay that upcharge, but you still want to use the hub lane, we have something called slugging, where you actually pick up you actually pick up strangers, right? You pick up strangers at this predetermined location, and then you'll pick them up. You all don't talk while you're driving.
You're supposed to be quiet when you slug. You're not supposed to get to know the people. You're supposed to just get in the car, put your seatbelt on,
right? Get yourself a book or something like that. Listen to yourself a podcast, and then they'll drop you off at a predetermined location as well. So that's slugging. So that's another option. We haven't heard about any serial killers or any mass murderers using that system to transfer their victims.
One of our neighbors is actually drives a slug van or whatever. So people do it, and it's really convenient for people who want to get away from driving their own car and also won't have to pay the tolls can get expensive. Sometimes those tolls can get really expensive.
But we know, based on the number of luxury vehicles in this area, that you could afford it.
They can afford it.
You can afford it. Let's see. Also, there's another opportunity for commuting is the VRE, which is a train or I guess a commuter train that runs on the train tracks, right?
Mhm.
So there's the metro tracks, then there's the train tracks. There's a commuter train. Now, this commuter train doesn't have a lot of stops, right? So
Mhm.
it's really meant to get people from the very far west, the very far south into the city in a very comfortable atmosphere. There's Wi-Fi, there's
Mhm.
super plush seats. It's a nice experience if that's what you're going for. And that also opens up more opportunities for housing, affordable housing opportunities for you in this region, right?
I want to answer Zoka's question before I give my next point. It's a question about slugging.
Okay.
And then we'll go to the one before after that. Is slugging better than Uber and Lyft? Yes, because unless you're in one of those slug vans,
Right.
you don't pay the person who's like, it's a
Wait, I can't say that yeah, slugging in Uber, slugging, you don't get to use slugging all day.
well, yeah. So slugging is only if you're going to like a certain during rush hour.
Right.
If you're going to a certain location,
Yes.
you can get dropped off. You can't like slug
You can't
to
slug
the
in the middle of the
supermarket.
day, yes.
Yeah, your slugging is only for if you're going to, let's say you're going to LaFont Plaza.
Right.
Well, then you stop at the slug stop in Springfield. You get in someone's car and you slug. There are no stops. Everyone gets out of the car at the same stop.
Yes.
So it's not like a cab or something like that, or doing like an Uber pool. Like everyone is going to the same place and you're just going to get out.
That's true. Yeah. I wouldn't even say you can compare the two because Uber or Lyft is really to get you to a final destination. Slugging is really just rush hour transportation to a destination close to where you hopefully work, right?
Yeah.
Some people slug and then maybe get on a train, maybe get on a bus. So their slug destination isn't their final destination.
It just gets them there more quickly than taking the metro, or cheaper than them having to pay to go through the hub lane themselves.
That's true. Excellent. All right.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say is, although the public transportation is great, like Abraham said, it's not a terribly walkable area. So one thing to consider is you're going to be paying not only for your metro fare every day, but you're also going to be paying to park your vehicle at the metro station. And even if you drive into the city, you may end up paying for parking in the city. So there are some hidden costs. Now, some companies do cover your monthly metro fee or whatever, but that really just depends on your employer. But that's a hidden cost when you may not think about the fact that, oh, I have to park my car in addition to paying for the metro, and the fees for the metro are higher during peak or rush hour time. So just depends. And of course, and also the fees vary depending on what stop you're getting off at.
That's true.
So just things to keep in mind. So yes, public transportation is a pro, but keep those things in mind when thinking about it.
Yes. Excellent. We have a couple more questions. Jordan says, I really appreciate you both answering my questions, and all my knowledge has come from your videos. We love the content you guys have put out and continue to provide. Thank you so much, Jordan, for reaching out and jumping on this show. Okay, being all the way in California and PCS into a new place, it is not easy, but you guys cover every detail. Perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for that compliment. Yes, that's our goal. Our goal is that you watch our videos, you're more educated about moving to the area, and also you have a better experience, right? Like a lot of our clients have commented that have come through the YouTube channel have stated that we've taken a lot of the anxiety out of moving to the area, and that brings us a lot of joy. But we can't continue these videos unless you use our service. This is not a...
So fill out the Perfect Home questionnaire if you have questions or want to interact with us and have us answer any questions for you.
Excellent.
I think that I saw another question I thought about Amazon. Okay.
I think, let's see. Oh,
yeah, there it is.
Much love to you all. Love the questions. Do people steal Amazon packages in Northern Virginia? Of course they do. Coming from Atlanta, everyone kept stealing my packages. How's the crime too? People steal packages, but it's not a prevalent thing. Yes, I think that now you have to keep in mind that we're talking about Fairfax County. Fairfax County is really a suburb. It's a huge suburb. Now, there are parts that are more densely populated, like Tyson's Corner, the Herndon, Reston area, right? But then most of Fairfax County is really just houses, townhouses.
Yeah,
not very many condos.
There's not a lot of people coming into the community who don't live in the community.
Yes.
So we don't really see a lot of, and we don't hear about it through our neighbors or any of the apps that we use. We don't really hear a lot about that happening. I'm sure it does happen because that's something that's going on throughout the country. People do steal packages. It's just not something that's prevalent here. And if it is, we definitely don't hear about it.
Yes.
But good question.
Due to the fact that this is the suburb. So as you move closer into closer to the DC area, right? Closer to Washington, DC, either in the city of Alexandria or in Arlington County, you're going to get more foot traffic. More foot traffic is going to lead to more packages being stolen. Let's see what else coming from. How's the crime too? Crime here, so we're from New Orleans, and we had real crime in New Orleans.
We don't see nearly as much. And actually, this is our next point. Yes, violent crime. So this is actually our next point. Our next pro. Appreciate the segue. The next pro is our low crime rate. The crime rate in Fairfax County is considerably lower than, of course, the nearest major city, DC, but it's also lower than our neighbors in Arlington and the city of Alexandria.
Right.
So as Abraham was saying, we come from a city and we're used to lots of crime, both violent and like breaking and entering, things like that. That's just not the case here. We don't hear about, you can check the crime stats and you can reach out to the local police departments for each area, but the crime statistics overall are considerably lower than the surrounding areas.
That's true. And when you watched so when we first got here in 2013, we were watching the news because, we didn't know much about this area, right? And as we were watching the news, we noticed that the news never really covered
a lot of violent crime.
Yes.
Which we feel like the news led with crime in New Orleans.
Well, I would say that they covered violent crime, but the violent crime was really in DC. Right. So the crime usually they were talking about was in the DC area, but we're in Fairfax County, which is a suburb outside of DC. So there's essentially layers before you even get to us from DC.
Yes.
There's DC proper, then there's Arlington, city of Alexandria, and then there's Fairfax County. Yeah. Right.
And then even Fairfax County is so huge that depending on where you are in Fairfax County, you can even further displace from DC.
That's true.
So overall, we just have lower crime rates than some of the surrounding areas. And so that's another pro is that people do, although maybe not advisedly, do leave their doors unlocked sometimes.
Yes, I do on a regular basis.
I was definitely subbing you there. Yes, my husband frequently leaves the door unlocked, but it's okay because I check.
I feel safe.
It's okay because I check behind him regularly throughout the day.
Yeah, so the low crime rate can lull you into a false sense of security. Yes. Also, another thing that's funny is with the crime rate here is the police regularly have to come on our Nextdoor app or even like in the Facebook groups and tell people, please lock your doors to your house and also
and your car.
Like,
yes.
We don't have people just breaking and entering into cars.
But if you left your car unlocked, somebody might come in and do that. Yes. That's true.
One of our neighbors' cars was stolen where the door was unlocked and the key was in the little box, the little valet key. So the person didn't have much difficulty stealing the car. So that's one of the challenges that
it definitely makes you this is not Mayberry. We need to remember this is not Mayberry, but still lots of people leave there. And now with everyone with the Ring cameras, people even feel even more comfortable leaving things unlocked because everybody, like your whole block, I have Ring cameras.
That's true. This show is going long.
It is. All right.
We have a couple more points, but we have another comment.
Okay.
Hold on. All right. EF Gaming. Okay, what's up?
Hey there.
Hello, I lived in Northern Virginia for 4 years all my life. It's basically a second home for me. I am currently out of the country, but plan to return as soon as possible. Hi from Turkey. Hello from Fairfax County. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us again. You were in one of our lives last week. Thank you so much for visiting us again. We appreciate you tuning in.
We hope you're enjoying Turkey as well. I've seen some beautiful photos of that place.
All right, so now we're moving on to the next section, which is it a pro or a con? Yeah. Because these are ones I really couldn't decide, right? So some people would view this as a pro, and it's that we have all 4 seasons here.
That's true.
Like we
It's
have,
beautiful here.
it is beautiful here. So in the springtime, it is absolutely breathtaking. It's just perfect weather, like nice 73-degree days. Summertime, it gets really hot and muggy. It gets humid. I thought we left humidity in New Orleans when we relocated
It's
here.
sticky.
Our first summer here, we found out that was not the case.
We're
It
close
gets,
to water. I don't know why we
yeah.
didn't think about this.
I don't know, but it gets as hot as New Orleans. It's the weirdest thing. It gets just as hot. Like we have 100-degree days here in like July and August. Like actually over the summer I had heat exhaustion from going for a walk here in like a 90-degree day. I just didn't think about it and I came home and ended up with heat exhaustion for like 3 days.
That's true.
So it gets really hot. So just be prepared for that
Yes.
if you're going to be
Hot and
spending
humid. It's
you're
hot
going
and
to
humid.
spend considerable amount of time outside. Fall, best time of year.
Fall is the season. I can see why they have so much poetry about. Like,
I mean, just the colors. Like, I mean, the leaves. Temperature is perfect. It's like crisp but not cold. Just love it here. And then we have occasional snowfall, and people go back and forth. Some people say it doesn't snow here very much. It snows pretty much every year, but it's just a matter of what type of snow and how frequently. Like it snowed today, and it's the first snow of the season.
Right, and it's quote unquote a bad snow too, because I think it's like 4 or 5 inches. So it's not just like when it snows here. That's it's one of the challenges living here is that when it does snow here, people freak out. Like,
They freak out.
I'm not going to work. I'm going to buy all the water, all the bread, all
of the wood, because we have a lot of us have wood burning fireplaces. People are buying all the wood.
Yes.
What I find interesting is so the snow is more than anticipated. It was supposed to be a light snow.
Right.
That's what was forecasted since Saturday. We knew a light snow was coming today. Today is Monday. We knew a light snow was coming. By midday yesterday, the schools had already closed. I was like, a light snow? They do not play about snow here. And what's funny, and this is why I think it's a con, is Fairfax County is huge. And it will snow in northern Fairfax County, let's say in McLean, but the schools will be closed here in southern Fairfax County, even though we didn't get any snow at all.
That's true.
And it's because they operate on a system. It's not like when we were kids, like an individual school might be closed. Like, oh, you look at the little news ticker down, at the bottom of your screen, and it will say so-and-so school. No, here the county closes.
That's true.
And so it doesn't matter. It'll be no snow and your kids will be at school for 3 days.
That's true. That's true.
People here can't drive in the snow. It's another reason why that's a con.
We don't have that much snow.
We don't have the we get no practice.
Yeah,
we have no matter of fact, I think I've only driven in the snow once.
Yeah.
Like we have no practice in driving in the snow. Put some kitty litter in your trunk. Every year people get stuck on the roads in the snow.
Yes.
It'll start like instead of getting like this morning we woke up to snow, but sometimes we get that evening snow where it starts to snow around 4 or 5 o'clock, and next thing you know, it is just cars pulled on the side of the road, people with blankets in their back seat, like I'm just gonna be here the rest of the night.
That's true.
So no, seriously, that happens.
It gets worse. Yes.
So just be mindful of that.
I have a couple blankets in my car.
And I was actually talking to a client who's relocating. She found us here on the channel, and she's relocating. And I was telling her last night, I was like, make sure you get a real coat and gloves.
You do need a real coat.
You need a real coat and gloves. Like she's coming from the south.
Even if it doesn't snow, it'll still get in the 20s here. So that's not a sweater weather, no matter what you people from New York say. Okay.
Now, what I will say is, it was 60 degrees on Friday.
It was, and now it's snowing.
And now it's snowing.
It's a blizzard.
So just keep that in mind.
So, yep. Excellent. Let's see. We got one more comment before we go to our next section. Oh, it's a bot. Hello, bot. Thank you so much. We got the iRobot gang in here.
Okay. Our next is it a pro or is it a con is HOAs. So most of Fairfax County is going to be in HOAs. Now there are some pockets here and there that don't have HOAs, but for the most part, many of the homes in Fairfax County have HOAs. So your HOAs, I view them as a plus because HOAs make sure your neighbors don't have 16 cars parked in their yard.
That's
the
true.
HOA also makes sure that they cut their grass.
You don't have that pink flamingo guy that lives on Franconia Road.
Yes, exactly. Who just has like Christmas decorations in our neighborhood have to be up by the 13th.
Yes.
That's it. Like you will get a note you will get a letter in the mail if your Christmas decorations aren't up.
I think it makes sense.
Yes, right.
Makes sense.
So
I like the structure.
I like it. But at the same time, snow removal, the snow in our community will be up later today. Like
They
probably
were
if
already
it
passing. They already passed
exactly.
while we were doing while we are doing the show.
Exactly, right. And so they take care of snow removal. And so that's one of the reasons I like them. In addition to all the amenities we have in our association,
But also, before we go to amenities, they also we live in Kingstown, right? We would love for you to live in Kingstown.
We
too.
always want
live
folks to
near
move to
us, right? So that we can have little parties, little get-togethers. It'd be cool. Anyway, in Kingstown specifically, we have beautiful landscaping here. We have beautiful grounds.
They replant the ground every year. They redo the flowers in our community.
It's beautiful.
Like it's beautiful. It's well kept.
The best 140.
But not only that, they repave the roads in our community every year.
Every other year.
Is it every other year? I thought it was every year.
No, it's not every.
Okay. Well, all I know is it's a lot. We never have potholes.
It's noticeable.
We never have potholes. So that's another thing with the association. And then finally, the amenities. We live in a larger association, so it does have a lot of amenities. We have 2 pools, 2 fitness centers, a couple of tennis courts. What else? Volleyball court.
Trails.
Trails throughout, parks, like tot lots throughout. Like I don't even know how many we have.
In case they can't move to Kingstown. Let's
okay. Well, but other associations are similar. But we have 2 types of associations. We have associations like ours, which is a larger association that has a lot of amenities, and also they take care of things like architectural design approval and things like that. Then there are other, and so there's a monthly fee with those HOAs. Then you have other smaller associations that are maybe built. They may still be built monthly, but most of them are built quarterly. And those associations typically only they have rules as far as architectural design, and then they probably handle snow and trash, but then you may not have any amenities.
That's true.
And you'll typically see a difference in price. Like on average for a townhouse in this community, you're probably looking like $100, $105. Whereas a lot of those smaller associations, you may pay, I don't know, maybe like $150 or $200 every quarter.
Right. Yes. They get you up on a quarterly game.
Yeah. So the reason I say it's a pro as a con is because it could be a con, because if you want to paint your shutters, it has to be an approved color. You want to replace your front door? Well, it has to be an approved color. Even small things such as light fixtures. All of the homes have lamp posts in front of them. If you change your lamp post or use the wrong type of light bulb, you will get a note. And we hear about this frequently because when you sell your home or when you're buying a home within the association, you get the HOA docs and it shares if there are any violations with you. And on a number of occasions, we've had clients who had to make changes to a light fixture.
That's true.
Because they either had the wrong light bulbs or they replaced the light fixture at their front door with something that they thought looked similar to what they originally had, and an associate says that's not approved.
That's true. And the association will get you when you sell your house, right?
So, they will.
So in the event you're like, I don't go to the pool, I don't go to the gym,
I'm not going to pay my fees.
Yeah, they're going to get you when you're going.
They will. You can't sell your home in a HOA without being up to date on your fees. So that's why we say, is it a pro or is it a con?
That's true. Okay, we have one more question before we go to our next section. Zoka says, is it worth attending the HOA meetings? Meh. I guess it depends. I think that if it's a great place to meet people, right? But they're going to give you minutes anyway. So I don't.
Never been to one.
Yeah, I don't know if. I mean, I do agree that you should be active in your community, right? But is it the best use of time? Maybe not.
Probably not.
Yes. I guess the challenge with HOAs here are just like living here in general. You don't have that many of the ills that come with a normal large city. So I find that a lot of the meetings are just
people are looking for something.
Yeah, people may be looking for something. They may be looking for something. So I do think that if you're looking to meet new people, HOA meetings are a great place to meet other people, right? Also to get more familiar with the community, get familiar with your neighborhood and things like that. So maybe at the beginning, going to HOA meetings may make sense. But we don't go.
All right, and finally, we're going to move on to cons. Abraham spoke about it a little bit earlier, but probably the biggest con of moving here is the traffic.
Yes, you've heard about it. You kind of already know about it.
I mean, it is just...
It's horrible. It can be horrible. It can be horrible.
It can be.
It's we have the 3rd worst traffic in the country, right? So people spend a lot of time in their cars when they are if they are in traffic here. Now I will say the challenge with saying that traffic is a con is also like saying, well, there's a lot of people who are interested in living here, right? So we do have a lot of opportunities here. So there's going to be traffic, right? So you can't really get around the two. If your budget permits, you can get either closer to your job, or you can get to a place that maybe has a better traffic route. But for the most part, the traffic is just a part of life here. You just have to come to terms with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can say about it. It's just you're gonna have to get used to the traffic. I try to find a pro for every con, like what could be the benefit of it. You'll catch up on lots of podcasts, and you may have a chance to listen to some cool audiobooks.
That's
like
true.
you may just get some personal time if you are commuting at least. It gives you some time to unwind before you get home, but it might be a long time, a lot of unwinding because traffic here is just.
Now, I will say we work from home, so we don't really get that time that you commuting people get to kind of transition from work to home, right? So I do think that it is a pro that you do have some commute because you do get the transition from, okay, I got my office hat on, my work hat, and now I'm going home. I'm going to put on my home hat.
And just really quick, the traffic here is not just commuting traffic. We have traffic throughout the day, particularly if you're going south. And then we also have weekend traffic. So although there is less traffic during the weekends, there's still traffic. So it's a con.
That's true. Excellent. And our last point before we answer any additional questions. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Our last point before we answer any additional questions and in this show is the con is the cost of living here, right? It's expensive to live in Fairfax County, right? The median household income is $124,000. That's twice as much as the national average here.
Does that make up for the high cost of living, though?
I think it makes up for the high cost of living, because even though our prices are
our home prices
are more, but if you think about like how you get a mortgage or how mortgages are made, is usually a leverage on your down payment amount. And so I just think that living here, it just makes more sense to live here with making more money. You have a more expensive house, so then you actually have more equity, more opportunity to build equity. You have more career opportunities. You're also located closer to different attractions.
But also, although the cost of living, like actually of the homes here, is significantly more than a national average, because it's about $300,000 more than a national average. Everything else is pretty like level with the rest of the country, or maybe a little bit more. So healthcare is about the same. Food is about the same. Utilities is about the same. And so about the same or a little bit higher. So even though the cost of owning a home or even renting a home is more expensive here in Fairfax County, everything else kind of levels out. So really, if you're able to make significantly more in income, it kind of is a wash. And you have, like Abraham said, so many opportunities here as far as advancement, career advancement. So I think it's worth it. I think that one thing I always warn people about when thinking about homes here is not to compare Fairfax County to other parts of the country. Don't say to yourself, oh, because this is something we did when we first moved here. Like, we could have lived in a gated community in New Orleans for what it costs to get a townhouse here in Fairfax County. And that's true. But then we would have to live in New Orleans.
We would be living there. Yeah.
Right. And so there's a trade-off. We wouldn't get all of these pros.
Right.
We wouldn't have all the pros that come along with living with Fairfax County if we were to get that gated community in New Orleans.
That's true. Well, I think that this is a great place to end today's show. As always, Crystal's a little long-winded, we thank you all for all your questions thus far. We'll wait to see if they have any additional questions. But again, my name is Abraham Walker. This is Crystal Walker, my co-host. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we cover a new topic. Mondays, we cover a topic targeting Fairfax County. On Wednesdays, we talk about
Prince William County.
And then on Friday, we wrap it up with Arlington County. Those are like the major areas in the Northern Virginia area, which is the service area that we cover. Right. So we have another question here. Zoka says, when Amazon HQ comes, will it affect homes as far as Woodbridge and the Manassas? I don't. Amazon effect could really be seen close to the headquarters, but then after you have people who work for Amazon, but they decide that they could live outside of that, the Arlington, Crystal City, or even City of Alexandria area, now the whole region becomes available to them. And I don't think you really feel the effects of Amazon HQ as you get further out into the region, because it's very likely that if somebody is looking to move further away from Amazon HQ2, then they probably don't make as much money. And now they're competing with everyone else, right? And so I don't think, we don't have enough data at this time to say definitively how much Amazon has affected the Woodbridge or Manassas area of the areas to the outskirts of the region. But we do have data that shows unequivocally that Amazon it immediately affected the immediate area. Right?
Yes. Absolutely. And I think that we would have noticed by now. It's been a couple years because the impact in those immediate areas like Arlington, Falls Church, Alexandria, it was instantaneous. That's true. Within a week, we saw the difference. And it's been a couple years now. So I can't really say that there's much of a difference throughout the rest of the region.
That's very true. Well, thank you all for joining us on another show, another episode here. We do appreciate all of the questions. And this is actually one of the reasons why we switched to a
live stream versus recorded videos.
Recorded videos, just to give you an opportunity to answer your questions in real time, because we know that your questions will also help other people in their journey to move into Northern Virginia. And your real-time questions also give us an opportunity to show you either that we're knowledgeable about the market before you actually start to work with us. And if you're looking to work with us, we have a link in the description to our Perfect Home questionnaire. You fill out that questionnaire, and then we will schedule a time for you to meet via Zoom to talk about your move to the area. This is 1 hour and 40 minutes, or minus the 10-minute
countdown,
intro,
but still.
An hour and 30 minutes. That's not bad.
That's not bad. It's a little longer than anticipated, but you know what? It works.
If you're watching this on the replay, or if you just joined us at the beginning of this show, we talked about the steps to buying a new construction property. So we talked about the different phases. And then this segment of the show was talking about the pros and cons of living in Fairfax County. Join us on Wednesday when we talk about the pros and cons of living in Prince William County. That's all for me. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.